Good morning, Raptor Freak. Alexiot's here. Thursday morning, on a in the middle of the week where we're not having any games, but it's still training camp, and the team is working out and doing stuff behind the scenes. Just a real quick note about the team. Of course, we released Gillespie and Perry yesterday. Expected that Perry's going to come right back and be on 905, and then we got another new player yesterday to play for 905. His name's Josh Hall. He's from Oklahoma City Thunder on their G League last year. And he's a 6'9" guy again, and he has ball handling skills, and he's a project. He's really raw and he's very young. So now we have another 6'9" talented guy coming to our organization to the 905. So this is good. That's just a little housekeeping on like day-to-day transactions. But today's subject is a very important one to me. It's something that I firsthand had to deal with when I first moved back to Toronto in 1998. And it's a really big deal, guys. And it's something that's still on the down low as a problem, but it's gotten way, 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 way better in the last 25 years of the Raptors organization existing. And I want to talk about today about the relationship between the Raptors and the NHL. And why the NHL wants the Raptors to fail. I mean, it's very obvious. Like in the world, there's a certain amount of expenditures in people's budgets that they can put into entertainment, whether it's going to the bars, going to movies, going to whatever you want to spend your money on. So in the NHL's eyes, they see the Raptors as competition in some ways, taking money away. And to be honest, the NHL has been super intimidated by the Raptors in some ways about them taking away attention from the sport and stuff like that. Now, I'm going to preface this today as saying I'm not somebody who's really been a big hockey fan in my entire life. I grew up in Florida. I never got to play hockey. I'm 6'3", and I'm the right size and quickness to play hockey, and I have the right name. And I could have played hockey probably and been pretty good, but I just never did because I grew up in Florida. I was down there the whole time, so I played basketball. So I really didn't get that connection to that sport like most people in Toronto and Canadians do. So in some ways, I haven't had it's weird. It's a weird thing because in some ways, I wish I had been into hockey more, but in some ways, I'm really glad I'm not, because it would make my devotion and passion for the Raptors a little more complicated. Because I really feel like the Toronto sports fan, if they're a fan of all the teams, I'm wearing my Toronto Blue Jays World Series champion shirt, vintage from 1993 right here. But if you're a Toronto sports fan and you're a fan of all the teams, it's hard to be that because all the teams are different and they have different kind of feels to them. And the Leafs culture and the culture of the fans and the history and the way that things happen with the Leafs kind of messes up Leaf fans that are Raptor fans also. What I find is it makes those kind of Raptor fans that are Leaf fans equally or more Leaf fans than Raptor fans are super critical of the Raptors, even when, they don't need to be, because they have to be super critical of the Leafs. Because the Leafs have shown ineptitude in getting nowhere as an organization for a long, long time. And the reason why the Leafs are like that is very similar to the reason why teams like the New York Knicks are the way they are. It's because it's an old franchise. It has a lot of history, a lot of prestige, and there's a lot of old rich people that live in Toronto that want to get their hands on controlling it. And so when you have too many people trying to control an organization, it gets stretched all over in different directions, and it has no clear path or clear goals, because too many people are trying to put their imprint of what they want on the team, because a lot of it's ego with the Leafs that messes them up. There's so many people involved at the top of the Leafs with ego, and they're not always on the same page, and they don't really get, because they switch their coaches, they switch their GMs. They don't have anybody who's really leading that team for the last couple decades. It's switched around so much. So the Leafs fans are conditioned to lose. The Leafs fans are conditioned to expect disappointment. The Leafs fans are conditioned to not think good things about their team. They were like, I'll believe it when I see it. And that kind of attitude carries over with how they treat the Raptors, even though it's not fair, because the Raptors do not have the baggage that the Leafs franchise has. And it's a thing that really frustrates me. because I can talk to other Raptor fans and almost immediately realize when they're a hockey fan also, because they'll speak in a certain way about the Raptors. That's how somebody would speak about the Leafs, just really negative and just really like, nah, I don't think so. And I can understand why Leaf fans are like this, because they've had disappointment over and over again. The last time they got in the playoffs was a disappointment. They got swept out. They've gone series and got into the 7th game and got put out. The Toronto Maple Leafs make Toronto like Cleveland, a loser sports town. And the thing is, and this is the thing that pissed me off, when I came back to Toronto in 1998, the first job I got back in town was at the Air Canada Center, and I was making Mr. Sub. And I was there when Vince first got here to Toronto, and I watched all I was there for Leaf and Raptor games, and I saw how that organization treated the two different teams on different nights. And the Raptors were getting the short hand of the stick most of the time. We were getting everything secondary to the Leafs, and the Leafs were so much more important. And I can understand why people will say, okay, well, the Leafs are more important than the Raptors. Well, you know what? Not to everyone. Not to everyone. Not to me. Because in fact, in some ways, the Leafs lost my fandom. I'm supposed to be a Leaf fan. My father grew up here in Leslieville, not too far from where I'm living right now. And he went to Leaf games at the Maple Leaf Gardens in the 60s, back when they were winning Stanley Cups. So it is in my heritage, in my family, to be a Leaf fan and to be a Toronto fan like that. But I'm not. I'm a Winnipeg Jets fan, because I feel like that team, they deserve that team in Winnipeg because they lost it and they worked really hard and they really, really appreciate having that team back. And I have family in Winnipeg. So I root for the Jets in the NHL. But the Leafs, I want to root for the Leafs. I want the Leafs to do well. I love the Leafs. I don't even know what happened in the game last night. They opened their season last night. I don't know. I don't know if they won or lost last night because I don't pay attention. I don't pay attention to them at all. I don't watch any of their highlights because over the years, I got really pissed off because they were getting all the good spots, even though we were a team in the playoffs and we were doing stuff and we were doing things. We should have got that premium spot and they should have been covering us first. But it was always the Leafs first, and always more of the broadcast on hockey and NHL, and always just a little bit on there. You guys have to realize that the two broadcasters here, TSN and Sportsnet, do not treat the Raptors the same way they treat the Blue Jays or the Leafs. Sportsnet loves the Blue Jays. They're owned by the same company, Rogers, and their priority is Blue Jays baseball. And then on the TSN side, it's really more a Maple Leafs network. Because if you think about this, guys, coming into this season coming up, if you want to watch every single Raptor game on television, you have to pay $500, whether to the cable company for your cable package or NBA Pass, because it's that way. Meanwhile, for the Leafs and the Jays games, these games are on free TV most of the time. They're on CBC. They're on different places where you can get access to watch them. Everybody in the whole city can watch a Leaf game. But the Raptor games, half the time, they're on TSN too, which you have to have an extra cable package to get. This is very calculated and very something they've been doing for a long time. The TSN and Sportsnet are not huge fans of the Raptors, but they realize that they make money and people want to watch them. But if they could, they'll slide us every which way, and they have over time. It's gotten better. But still, in the mid-2010s, I was sitting in a bar on Danforth watching the Milwaukee Bucks play the Toronto Raptors in a regular season game. DeMar DeRozan was playing. Norman Powell was playing. Kyle Lowry was playing. The game was close. There were 30 seconds to go in the game. And they cut away from the game because it went a little long, and they went straight to their Sportsnet broadcast, this news broadcast, and they covered hockey for 15 minutes. And they didn't even tell us who won the game. And it was close. They cut away with 30 seconds to go on the game. Yeah, that happened for real in the mid 2000s, 10s, like I think it was in 2015 this happened. So it's like this is something that still happens on the down low. There are people in this country that want the Raptors to fail. They wanted the Raptors to do what the Vancouver Grizzlies did 10, 15 years ago. They want them to fail and fold. There's people in the U.S. that are purists that love the NBA that think it should only be in American like teams. No Toronto. So they want Toronto gone. And then there's people here in Canada that want Toronto Raptors gone also because they're hockey people and they're worried about basketball taking away from hockey. And it's true, it has. They should be worried because it has. Hockey has problems getting good numbers for watching it and different things already. And the Raptors have not helped their case with this. The Raptors appeal to a younger people and a more diverse people than the Leafs. And the Raptors have a buzz. The Raptors are cool. The Leafs are cool too. And the Leafs are the Leafs. But there's, like I said, there's a lot of mismanagement and problems with the Leafs that I just, all right, when I worked there in 1998, from 1998 to 2004, I saw how the Leafs mismanagement bled over through MLSE into the Raptors. And this is when we had guys like Glenn Grunwald and Rob Babcock as our GMs. And Richard Petty was in charge of the whole MLSE. And he really favored the Leafs. Like, he was catering to the Leafs almost the whole time I worked there. And the Raptors were always treated like a secondary citizen in the building, in the organization. So yes, I have a resentment towards the Maple Leafs in some ways because of that kind of treatment. And seeing how, like, something I love so much, like the Raptors, was getting treated so poorly by their own company, So what happened was Tim Leiweke came to Toronto and he separated the teams finally. Thank God. Tim Leiweke was a savior. He came to town. He started TFC. He built the practice arena for the Raptors. He separated the teams. He brought Masai Ujiri here, and everything just started going uphill for the Raptors after that. Once we got that separation from the Leafs in the organization by Tim Leiweke, the Raptors just started going straight on up. Because it's true. The Leafs are messed up because too many people have egos and they want to control that team. It's just like the Boston Celtics. It's just like the New York Knicks. It's just like the Yankees. All these storied franchises with so much history and championships, ego and people with money that live in the city want to control it in their own little ways. And that's what happens. We're lucky with the Raptors. We have one guy in charge, and that's Ujiri. And that's it. But the Leafs, you don't know who the figurehead's in charge there, because it's a bunch of different people and they all work from their ego. And that's why that team doesn't get anywhere, because they don't have a figurehead person in charge. And I just feel so lucky that the teams are separated now, because the Leafs dysfunction really does bleed over into the Raptors and hurt them. It hurts them. So in the beginning, in the 90s with the Raptors, none of the people that covered basketball at that time were basketball people for the most part. I mean, Doug Smith was around and he was pretty good, but most of them were hockey people trying to cover basketball. So they didn't even know the terminology and all this kind of stuff. And there really have been little subversive ways that they've tried to undermine the growth of the Toronto Raptors because of the fear of taking away from the NHL and fandom in Canada. I know a lot of you guys are big Leaf fans also and Raptor fans. And yes, you can be both. But think about it. On certain nights, they're both playing at the same time. And who are you watching? Are you watching the Leafs or are you watching the Raptors? I won't mind you doing either one, but come with me. Let's follow the Raptors. That's what I'm saying for my own personal choice. But just be real, recognize that there are entities in Canada that do not want the NBA to succeed here, that do not want Toronto Raptors to do well. And in fact, they wish that they had gone like the Grizzlies, that they had just like ran out of business and had to move the team out of Toronto, because then they would have more of the market for the NHL. And they're worried, they're terrified, because you see the parade for when we won the championship. You see the young people that love the Raptors. And they're not as involved with the Leafs. It scares the hell out of old rich white people, is basically what I'm saying right now. Because if you go to a Leaf game, you're going to see a bunch of old rich corporate white people that aren't even really fans. They're only there to smoosh business people and clients. They have tickets down in the golds and the platinums, and they sit down there and they do business. They're not even there half the time to see the game. It's just corporate. A lot of the blue collar people that come to the game, they're all upstairs and they're getting loud and stuff like that, but they're not downstairs. Meanwhile, you look at a Raptors crowd and it's younger. There's more females. It's way more multicultural and more representative of the city of Toronto. And that's the thing that scares the hell out of the hockey establishment. And it's part of the xenophobia of this country in general. Like, if there's people that are racist that live in this country, the Raptors represent immigrants and people coming here that they don't want in this country. And there will be racism towards basketball purely just because it's predominantly played by African American people. So it's like, it's a complicated thing of a lot of different things working in here: history, tradition, money, bang for your buck for your entertainment and where it goes. Like, these are the things that, you know, corporate entities are thinking about. And even in really little subversive ways, they'll do things to screw over the Raptors in some ways, just to try and make people not into them. Like, they'll write articles about them being bad, so they'll think, hopefully, people won't watch them, because the Toronto sports fans are fickle about winning. The team has to be winning for them to be fully invested in really watching them, like the ordinary sports fan. Now, there's fanatics like me that are going to be watching no matter, even if they lose all 82 games. But there's some people that don't like feeling losing, and they leave the team when they are in rough spots. Like, they leave, they don't follow the team when, you know, we're in the Bosch years and they're really bad or stuff like that. You know, they just don't want to be a part of it. They don't want to feel that losing. And so they root for LeBron. They root for different teams that have a winning like edge, or seem like they will have a winning edge, like Golden State or whatever, stuff like that. But I'm going to do another video about the NBA fandom stuff separate. Right now, I just want to talk about the NHL and the relationship between hockey and the Toronto Raptors, because it is a big issue. It's always been a big issue. And it's something that this team has had to deal with on the down low, and nobody likes to talk about it. Nobody in the sports media will talk about it. And it's only people like me, we're getting real and really talking about it between the lines, that can talk about why it's like this. Kenny, good morning. Thanks for talking to me. Still surprises me that even the media still can't wait to switch from NBA to hockey, TSN and sport. Exactly. See, this is the crazy thing. It pisses me off. We're a perennial playoff team for the last decade. We need some respect from our sports media. I understand there's a hierarchy in some people's minds that Leafs always will be up top, and I can respect that. But we should get at least equal time. And maybe on certain nights when the Raptors do something really special, impressive, maybe you could start with our highlights if the Leafs aren't doing really anything, or maybe they're not playing and you're just starting with like injury reports about them. It does piss me off when hockey is always the first slot on sports, TSN's Sports Center or whatever show is on. That's why I don't watch them either. I don't watch US media, and I don't watch Canadian sports media either, because the way hockey gets treated over the Raptors pisses me off. Because we should get more respect. We're champions in the last 3 years. We've been in the playoffs for a long time. Y'all should have been covering us correctly for a longer time than you have now. You're getting better and better, but that's the thing. And even our own journalists here in Toronto would talk about the Raptors in a way like gaslighting to make us like not seem that good, because there's an agenda to put the NBA down in Canada. There's a lot of people in Canada that want the NBA out of Canada, but they're messed up because Vince came here, he made it big, blew it up. All the little kids loved it. They saw it as a cash cow. The Raptors are one of the most profitable NBA franchises in the NBA. So the NBA is like, no, we don't want to get rid of them. And the Raptors are like, we're doing fine. Nobody's going to mess with it. But they wanted us to not succeed. They wanted the Raptors to go away, just like the Grizzlies. People here in Canada, and it didn't happen. So they're scared. They're scared because we build more and more momentum as our team continues to be good and excel and succeed, and not buy into this Toronto losing culture. That's the thing, because I'm not a Leaf fan. Also, I don't have this baggage that Leaf fans carry around because of their team, because of the years and years of disappointment, because of the years and years of not getting anywhere near a Stanley Cup. So this is the thing. If you're a fan of both teams, really make sure you're not letting your feelings about the Leafs bleed over into how you feel about the Raptors. Because sometimes I talk to Raptor fans and they get really critical of the Raptors. And then I ask them, are you a hockey fan too? And they're like, yes. And then I realize why. Because they're programmed and jaded because of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that's why there needs to be a separation there between Leaf Nation and Raptor Nation. So if you're a fan of all Toronto sports, you can compartmentalize it, but get your priorities straight. Mine's number one, Raptors. Number two is this team right here. And the Leafs aren't on my list. I don't watch the Leafs. I don't care about them. It's just a built up years of animosity towards them because of the way they're treated over the Raptors. And maybe I'm petty for it, but they're petty on the other side too for not doing things for us. So there, we've got the U.S. media sliding us on their broadcasts and the way they treat us, and then our own media treats us in a poor way just because hockey is the darling sport in Canada. And they want to preserve that heritage. And the Raptors are a threat to that heritage. What do you think little kids want to do? Do they want to spend $500 on hockey equipment, or just go down to the store and get a $50 basketball and go shoot? It's a lot cheaper to play basketball, a lot more accessible to everybody. And these are things people really, there are corporate people that are worried about the growth of the NHL, and they look at the NBA as a threat. So as long as we're all aware of why there's that contention and that thing, and you could think about it that way, then you can understand why the Canadian sports media treats the Raptors the way they do. There's no reason why people should have to pay $500 for the whole season to see every single Toronto Raptor game this year. There's no reason to have to pay for extra cable and then get league pass on top of that. That's screwed up, because the NHL games are all going to be free for every single person here in town to be able to watch the Leafs. And it's not the same for the Raptors. And in some ways, that is part of how they're doing it. They price people out and stuff like that. Anyway, I don't want to go on too much longer with this. I've been doing really long streams lately. I really appreciate the interaction. This Raptor Freak Live. Please like, subscribe, comment. I'm going to be doing this every day. You guys can come on here and talk to me, and I'll talk right back to you. I'm not one of these guys who's going to ignore your comments. I really like the interaction, and I think that's going to be part of my bread and butter with this show, is just being live and interacting with you guys right on the fly. So we've got this period of time before there's games. So every day I'm going to do something on some sort of subject. Today it was on the NHL's relationship with the Raptors. Tomorrow, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I want to do a video on how I think the Raptors are a dark horse to win the championship this year, and how I can explain that to people where they won't think I'm absolutely batshit crazy. So, all right, guys, have a great Thursday, and be proud to be a Raptor fan. Be proud to be a J fan. Be proud to be a Leaf fan. Sure, it's all great. All right, yeah, just real quick, MK47 just jumped in. Can you talk about the ups and who get the short end of the stick? We have so many good players. You talk, the lineups. Okay, yeah, just real quick about the Raptors. We really are, like, I was having an argument with somebody yesterday about how deep we are. I believe we're 12 men deep right now. And even Nick Nurse says we're 13 men deep. So what's going to happen is really going to be matchup dependent, MK. I look at it as being like on certain nights, we're going to go really big with like Birch and Precious and Boucher maybe as our three big guys. But it's really going to be matchup dependent. Like if we need shooters more, it may be Fred, Svi, Gary Trent, and OG, Pascal, and Precious or something like that. It's just, that's the thing about this positionless stuff. It's so versatile, and it's going to be able to be reactive to the situation. And even if they have a game plan going into a game thinking this is what we're going to do, they may react in the middle of the game and change guys out. So I don't think it's ever going to be that set. Like I could say, okay, yeah, maybe Yuta's going to be the 12th man, and that's, he's going to get in here and there, but not a whole lot. I mean, I kind of see that, but it could be that Yuta's actually more like an 8th or 7th man who's actually still in the rotation. At this point, I think it's going to be very fluid, and it's going to be really hard to determine who is going to get that short end of the stick in the lineups. I don't think it's going to be who we think it is. And I also think it's going to change. Like, it's not going to be the same people all the time. It is really going to morph with who's hot and who's been playing well in practice, or who's not doing their assignments on the court, because the competition's so great. That's the thing. All these other teams are dogging it and just kind of cruising. We have guys that are fighting for their lives to make the team, to get minutes, to get to start. There's all these different little battles which are keeping guys hungry and very, very aggressive. And that's what I like, because that whole team's aggressive, because they know there's 2 or 3 guys next to them on the bench that can do exactly what they do. So it's like there's no room for error for them. They got to do perfect, because they know if you don't do perfect, Scotty Barnes is going to get your minutes. Or you don't do perfect, Boucher's going to get your minutes. It's going to be like that. Yep, and exactly. That is why we won against Washington. We out-talented them in the end. Like I said, I think they have a lot of mid-level talent on Washington. It's okay. They got Bradley Beal, who's a really good player. Kuzma's kind of up there as a good player. But the rest of them are all really mid-level talent. And we have premium talent. We have guys that are blue chipper, athletic studs, guys that can do it, like running, strength, fast, everything. Meanwhile, they have a bunch of role players that are, you know, kind of have some experience and stuff like that. But anyway, thanks for the interaction, MK and Kenny, this morning. Everybody, go Raptors. Just win, baby. We're going to get it next week. Washington on the 20th is the first one. I'll be back tomorrow. Look for me tomorrow between 8 and 11. I'll be back with another live stream, and we'll interact some more, guys. All right. Have a good day, guys. All the best.